Today, I'm going to be building and simulating the Season 4 Tournament of Elements final battle in all of its glory. It's one of the coolest action-packed battles from Ninjago, and I'm going to recreate it out of Lego. It's going to have epic minifigures, wild functions, and an insane amount of rock building. I cannot wait to get into this build. Let's go. Over the years, I've built quite a few Season 4 Ninjago mocks. Chen's Island, Chen's Steamboat, Klaus's Stone Mech, Jay's Lightning Mech. I've basically built everything for Season 4 except the Corridor of Elders. And hopefully we can knock this build out of the water. Obviously, for the Corridor of Elders final battle, we need minifigures. A lot of minifigures. We're going to start with the 5 ninja we need in this set. We've got Titanium Zane, which looks fantastic with his silver helmet. We've got Jay in his jungle suit, Kai in his jungle suit, Cole in his jungle suit, and Lloyd in his jungle suit. I honestly love these unique ninja suits, and the brown detailing they use for the straps and harnesses on these bodies is a great touch. These suits are also unique with the golden characters on the front of their hats. Now it's time to work on the other elemental masters that are in this show. We have Griffin Turner, the master of speed, Bolobo, the master of nature, Mr. Pale, the master of invisibility, Tox, the master of poison, Karloff, the master of metal, Nero, the master of mind, Ash, the master of smoke, Camille, the master of disguise, Shade, the master of shadow, and Gravis, the master of gravity. For all the elemental masters, I gave them weapons or energy pieces to depict their elemental powers. Now the villains are quite simple. I got 2 Anacondrai warriors, gave them spears, and these banner pieces I got from the Tournament of Elements Lego set. The banners make the Anacondrai look like they're marching into battle. And then I have my Anacondrai Master Chen minifigure I got from Brick Kenobi in 2022. Again, big thanks Brick Kenobi. I still love this minifigure and I'm going to use him again in this mock. This mock is going to contain 18 minifigures. I guess 19 if you count this Micro Pythor minifigure. Yes, I did do it. Does it look good? Bruh. Not really. I also built a brick-built rat with the Book of Spells on its back. If you haven't watched Ninjago, I'm not going to try to explain it. If you know, you know. Now we can have Tiny Pythor riding along with a Book of Spells on the rat's back. Very strange, but it's a good addition to this build. Now it's time to move on to the Corridor of Elders. Now I have a lot of dark gray rock pieces, but it's not the right color for this canyon. In the show, this canyon is a much more orange color and looks a lot more like these nugget pieces. Sadly, I don't have that many rock pieces in this color, so it's time to get a Lego order in. I went to my computer, ordered about $50 worth of slopes, curves, and bricks that I can use to construct this canyon. And while I wait for them to come in the mail, I'm gonna start on one of these big samurai statues you see in the Corridor of Elders. This statue is basically just a larger-than-life minifigure. For the head, I had to design a samurai helmet, and on the top of the helmet, I placed on some golden detailing, like this rounded golden element. I also added gold to his shoulder pads, and the belt around his waist is also gold. I used some of these triangular slope pieces going down the front of his body to make it look like armor plates. And going down past the belt, he has an armored tunic. The hands are quite simple, but it's the best I could do with this color I was working with. Now, this statue is mainly dark tan, so this statue will stand out against the nougat background. Now that my nougat pieces have arrived, I opened them up and sorted them out by piece type just to get a feel for what type of pieces I had to work with here. I had quite a variety of different slopes and bricks I could use, so I was pretty excited to start working on this build. But obviously, with most large builds, you want to start with a Technic structure. And that's what I did. I was able to incorporate this function into the build. Basically, you turn this knob, it goes out to an axle and down to another gear. Then the gears go along, and I placed an axle onto one of the gears so that it can rotate around as the gear spins. Then I placed the axle into another small Technic hole, and this will spin the round 4x4 barrel I put on top of it so that it goes back and forth. Then I made another one of those, so we have 2, attached them to the same gears so you can turn them with just one twist. Now if we place on our 2 Anacondrai warriors and turn the crank, they spin back and forth as if they're slithering into battle. I love this function and I could spin this thing all day. Moving on with the Technic base structure, I built another function into this. This time I got these transparent poles and placed them on these bricks with Technic holes. Then I placed them on an axle so they can move freely. Then in front of them I placed another axle with small elements that stick up higher than the pole. Then I laid down the transparent poles on top of that. Now when you crank the knob, the transparent poles swivel up and down. And we can put Cole, Kai, and Jay at the end of these transparent poles, and it looks like they're jumping into action. This is a pretty easy function to do, and it's a fun feature to this build. We're going to add one more function, but that's a little bit later on. Now I covered the base with nougat base plates, and along either side of the build I used snot techniques to make the rock jut out from the sides. On one side the rock comes out further, so I have room to place Master Chen. For the backdrop of this build, I wanted it to be a canyon wall. So I got on my nougat slopes and bricks and started building up. Building rock is a lot of fun, and you can kind of go crazy with it, placing slopes and bricks as you go up. I used some snot building techniques to get the rock shaped differently. And as I was building up, I placed in some Technic pins and used a similar function to the one I'd used for the snakes, but this time on a bigger gear so that this transparent pole I had attached to it had much more rotation. And now this transparent pole goes up and down. But what are we going to attach onto it? Well, in the show, Lloyd gets a hold of one of these flying hoverboards and rides it through the canyon. So I made my own custom hoverboard with red highlights and ninja swords jutting off the side. Then I placed Lloyd on the speeder, and the speeder I placed on the transparent pole. Now we can turn the knob on the back, and Lloyd's speeder goes up and down as if it's flying through the canyon. Along this wall, I left some studs sticking off the side so we could place minifigures and added details. On the far right of this canyon, I placed Camille and Ash jumping in action. I placed Bolobo on the top of the canyon and placed in some vine elements to make it look like he's putting his elemental power to use. Then on the left face of the canyon, I added my stone statue I built before. I even added one more small function for this statue, but you'll see what it is later on in the video. Then behind the statue, I made this tree jutting off of the canyon with violet leaf pieces with an addition of pink highlights. Now in order to make it look more like a canyon, on the right side of the build, I built a pillar of rock jutting up out of the ground. As I was building up, I made a transparent pole sticking out of the rock and placed Gravis in the air. I also managed to fit Griffin Turner speeding towards a battle, and then up a little bit higher on this rock, I placed Xenon jumping in with his ice power. Now on this side of the canyon, I placed a much larger tree. I added some roots sticking off of the build, and I attached Shade on one of these roots jumping in to join the fight. For the tree trunk, I used these rounded tube pieces in brown. On the leaves of this tree, I added Nero and Karloff. Karloff is actually attached by his helmet. Finally, behind the jumping ninja, I placed Mr. Pale and Tox. Then the last and most important piece of this whole build is placing down Pythor and his rat. Now this canyon is complete, and let's check it out in the showroom. This is the Corridor of Elders final battle from Season 4 of Ninjago. All the Elemental Masters have come together to defeat their common enemy, Master Chen. His Anacondrai army is slithering across this canyon, trying to get through to the other side. But the Elemental Masters are there to stop him. There are 3 different knobs on the back here that you can turn. The yellow one makes the snake army slither, which is a great play feature, but it also is a good display feature. Then the green knob, if you turn that, the ninja around on the front jump up and down as if they're ready to attack the snakes. Finally, there is a teal knob, and if we turn that, Lloyd on his hover speeder can go up and down as if he's flying across the canyon. And if we turn all these knobs at the same time, every single function is working together, and it looks like a real battle is happening. Along with the moving elements, we also have characters displayed in epic fighting positions, jumping into battle. My favorite of these might be Nero, leaping off this cherry blossom tree into battle. I'm really happy I went with the nougat color for the build. It makes the rock structure look very similar to what it did in the show. I also like this towering dark tan samurai statue, and there's another play feature with this statue. If you press down on this little tile jutting off of the back, it falls off and destroys some of the Anacondrai army. I think the cherry blossom trees add a lot to this build, and I like the unique contrast of colors they add. This is definitely my most action-packed mock I've ever built, and I'm thrilled to say that we have digital instructions for this creation on the Brick Legends store. Go to the link in the description and you can pick up your very own digital instructions so you can build the Corridor of Elders yourself. And they're half off from now until this date right here. So get them while they're fresh. Comment down below what other Ninjago Final Battle mocks you want to see me put into a display format like this one. I cannot wait to see you guys in 2026 for my next Ninjago mock. Peace out.